In the country of silence. And lo! I did become something nigh unto the mighty pyramid, and my great home went up vast into the everlasting night, as a very mountain of sweet life and safety, and had surely amazed me afresh with the utter bigness of it, only that despair and weariness did have too grim an hold upon my heart for me to care of aught, save to have mine own maid within the safe wonder of the huge refuge. And it did be still afar off from me. And I to go forward across the land with a strong going, and lo! As I passed a hollow place where did burn a fire hole, there came something out of the hollow. And the thing gat upward from crawling, and did be a great haired man. And the man looked at me, and afterward came unto me, and did put his hands forward, very eager, as he came. And I did see the hands plain in the light from the fire hole, and the hands were monstrous, and did be armed brutish with horrid claws, so that the man should have been able to rip aught, even as a wild beast. And I put mine own very swift to the earth, and surely I cared not for life or aught, for this thing did make to delay me, and I to be fierce with despair that aught should halt me. And lo! I leaped very furious and with cold anger at the giant, and I smote at the monstrous brute, but he unto the side in an instant of time, and so escaped the blow. And he flung forth his monstrous arm out of the half-dark of a shadow that did be cast by the dance of the fire-hole, and caught my headpiece and plucked it from me so strong and brutish that he cast me nigh a dozen feet onto my back. Yet I was not harmed in the life, but only sore shaked and bruised, and I to be up in a moment, and came in upon the giant, and the discos did roar and blaze in my hands as I swung the weapon. And I gat the giant above the middle part, and the discos did glut itself, and went through the giant as that he did be not, though so huge and monstrous and girt with strength. And he to have surely turned his shoulders as he died, for the upper part of the giant man went horrid to the earth, and the legs and the trunk stood plain in the light of the fire-hole, and the blood went upward as a fountain in the night. And I made no pause, but leaped unto the maid, and had her in a moment to mine arms, and onward again past that dead thing, that did only then to fall with an horrid sound. And surely the night did be full of an astonishment and upliftedness of the millions, so that their spiritual cryings did go all about me, and did tell me that they had perceived this thing, and did cast their love and delight unto me, and a vast excitement to be upon them. And lo! I scarce to have gone a great mile more, but there came two vague things out of a dark place, where certain rocks did upstand, and I smote them with the discos, and went onward, but what they did be, I never to know. And surely, after that, I did seem to go smiting forever, for there to come, time and oft, strange things out from the bushes and the rocks, as that all the land did be a crawl with foul and monstrous life, and I to go smiting, as in a dream, and to speed forward ever with a more fierce despair, for surely the end of our lives did be come, and I not to be given power to save mine own maid. And all the land did be full of grim and monstrous roarings, and odd-wise lower sounds, very deadly. And once I did hear the noise of giants running. And all the night to be evil. And, in verity, how I did not be slain by some dread force, I not to know, unless that I did be burned free of all weakness that an evil power should have chanced to harm me through, for, indeed, I had been dealt a bitter training a monstrous time. And lo! There to be again the deep and dreadful baying of the night-hounds unto the southeast, and to be nearer, and I to know now that no strength of mine should serve to protect mine own. And lo! From the upwardness of the night, where did be the last light, there sudden to come downward a strange blue flash, that smote downward into the land unto the southeast. And again the flash to come, and mayhap a score times after, and there to come down out of the height a peculiar crackling sound, that did be less than the thunder of this age, yet more loud than any other sound that you ever to hear. And lo! I knew that the humans did begin to fight for me, that I bring mine own safe unto home. And behold! It did be as that all the wakefulness of the land that had been, did be but as sleep, beside the wakefulness that now to come, for surely the night now to seem to rock with the roarings of the monsters, and with the bestirring of great forces. And ever there to go over the land the yowling of that strange and dreadful laughter, which did come from that hid country in the night of the lost east. And lo! There arose constant now the hoarse and dreadful bayings of the hounds, and made known that a mighty pack did be out. And they seemed to be no more, maybe, than a good mile unto the southeast, and I to be all alone, save for the dying maid that I held in mine arms. And I looked vainly and with despair for the 100,000 that did be prepared, and had come downward, as you do know, unto mine aid. But truly, there did be naught to see anywheres, save the strange lights and shadows of the land, and the movement of monstrous life in this place and that place. And the hounds did come nearer with every moment of time, so that indeed, I knew that death did be very nigh. And I ceased not from my stride, but went forward, and did begin to run, for the pyramid was not a huge way off in the night, and the shine of the circle about it, to be plain seen, save here and there, where it did be hid strangely. And I to have a despairing hope that I come yet with mine own into the safety of the circle. And the baying of the hounds to come ever the more near, and surely it did be a doubly hideous bitter thing that I lose my dear one, so nigh unto home, and the great mountain of my home to go upward before me into the night, and to seem so near that surely I did be almost there, but yet, mayhap, 2 great miles off, even then. And, behold, I called out in vain despair and to no end, why that none come to give me aid in this extremity, for the hounds did bay now but the half of a great mile, upon my left, and did surely have scent of me, by the way of their dreadful baying. And, truly, the millions to have an anguish of sympathy for me, for the spiritual noise of their emotion did be plain unto my spirit, and they surely to have seen and to have interpreted the way that I did look about me and appear to call out in despair, for there came all about me in a moment the companioning of a great and sweet spiritual force, which did be bred of their quick going with me in their understanding in love, and they to have perceived how that I did be unto the end of hope. And the hounds to be almost upon me. And in this moment, there came afresh to my hearing the shaking beat of the earth current, so that I knew the humans to take desperate means to save. And there came to my view a vast pack of the hounds unto my left, and they came running at a great pace, and their heads did be low, and they to be so great as horses, and seen plain, and again in shadow, all in the same moment, as they did come. And, in verity, I knew that we two to be dead indeed ere a minute be gone, if that the humans not to haste. And I stood where I did be, for there was no more use to run, and I looked from the hounds unto the mighty pyramid, and again to the hounds. And again I looked with my hope gone, unto the pyramid, for the hounds did be scarce 200 fathoms off from me, and there did be hundreds of the mighty beasts. And lo! Even as I looked that last time unto the pyramid, there brake out a monstrous bursting flame, that did rush downward from the sealed lower part of the mighty pyramid. And the flame smote downward upon the land where the hounds did run, and all the night to be lost from my sight in the brightness and strangeness of that mighty flame, so that I saw no more the pyramid, or aught, but only the shining and dreadful glory of that flame. And the flame made a blast in the night, and a hotness that did seem to wither me, even where I did be from it. And I perceived that the humans had truly turned loose the earth current upon the hounds, that I be saved. And there went a constant great thundering over the land, because that the earth force did rend and split the air, and did tear up the earth. And the roaring of the monsters did be hushed and lost in that mighty sound, and I to see no place where the hounds did be, but only flames and broken lands where the earth force did strike, and great rocks did be hurled all withers, with a vast noise, and truly it did be a mercy that I was not slain 100 times, if this might be, by the failings and burstings of great rocks and boulders. And lo! In a moment the humans did cut off the earth force, and had it again to their control. And there to seem now a great silence upon the land, and an utter dark, save that flames and noise came from that part where the current did strike. And I very speedy to come free of the dazedness that had me, and made again to my running, for, in truth, it to seem now that I should yet be let to win unto safety with mine own. And mine eyes did grow presently unto their accustomed using, and I to look all ways about me, lest there come somewhat upon me even then to work our deaths. And for a good time there to be not that I did see anywheres, neither there to be the wakeful sounds of the land, save only the grim and horrid laughter from afar in the dead east. And oft as I did run, I to stare hungry-hearted upward at the mighty pyramid, and surely it alway now to seem to be less bright than before. And in the first, I to set this to the count that mine eyes did be yet dazed by the great flame of the earth force, but soon I to perceive that it did be otherwise, and that there did be truly a less brightness of the light that did shine throughout all the mighty redoubt. And this lack I conceived had owing to that great using of the force and power of the earth current that had been loosed to save us. And I to have this new thing cold upon my heart, for, truly, if that the force of the current to be made over low, there to be a danger for all the humans that did live, even for all the great millions of the mighty refuge. And this did be surely known by the masters, and they to have no more power to aid me with the current, until it flow strong again, lest that they destroy all the peoples of the earth. And all this to be plain to me in a moment, as I ran, and I to be but the more desperate to come unto instant safety with the maid. And surely, I to be yet in expecting of the 100,000 to come unto me, but they not to come. And all about me the land to begin again to give out the noises of the monsters, and to send forth new and peculiar noises, as that there did be more awaked in the land than did be ever heard by me before. And presently, I saw that there went living things, creeping, between me and the light of the circle. And I to know that I yet to have to fight bitter, if that I would bring the maid safe. And I swung the discos free, and ran on. And sudden my spirit to know that I did be warned of some new peril, and I to look upward into the night, that the master Monstruican should mayhap to tell me the danger, by the set speech. But, in truth, there came not the quick flashings of the set speech, but only an upward stillness, and a dimness of the lights of the mighty pyramid. And afterward, I to learn that the dear master Monstruican made to warn me of danger, but that all the instruments of the tower of observation to fail to work, and likewise all the machinery of the pyramid to cease, even unto the moving of the great lifts, and the mote of the air pumps, and all to have been this way for nigh a great hour, until that the earth current did flow again more full. And surely, this doth show that death did nigh to come unto all the millions, because of the great trial that did be made to save us. But, truly, my spirit did be warned by the trouble of the millions, and because the master Monstruican called vaguely with his brain elements, so that I went ever more warily, and did look all ways. And lo! Sudden I to stare above me into the night, and there to be a pale circle, very quiet and steadfast, that did go alway over the twain of us. And I saw that this did be surely one of those sweet powers of holiness, that did stand between our souls and some dread power that came anigh to work our destruction. And I to have no over fear, but did put my trust in the force of holiness, and went forward, running warily. And surely, I came mayhap so nigh as to within 400 paces of the circle, and I to think that I yet to win mine own safe and undelayed within the guarding of the circle. And the light of the circle did burn dim, so that I had sudden fear whether that it be any more use for a guard, until that the earth current to come more free. And all this as I ran, swift and wary and utter anxious. And lo! In that moment in a dim place there rose up 3 beastmen from the earth, and came at me, growling. And the first did be so close that I had no room to the discos, but beat in the head of the man with the half part. And I leaped unto the side then, and swung the discos, and did be utter mad, yet chill, with fury, so that the maid did be no more than a babe in the crook of mine arm. And I came in sudden to meet the 2 beastmen as they ran at me, and I cut quick and light with the great weapon, and did have that anger upon me which doth make the heart a place of cold and deadly intent, so that I had a wondrous and brutal judgment to the slaying. And, truly, I slew them as that they had been no more than mice, and I had no harm, neither so much as a touch from them. And, behold! In that moment there came a great shout of wonder and of welcome from within the circle. And I looked swiftly, and began again to run, for there did be men in grey armor all within the circle, yet came they not to mine aid. And lo! In a moment I knew why that the 100,000 did have held off from me in mine extremity, for, behold! There did be monstrous black mounds all along without of the circle, and did rock and sway with a force of strange life that did set an horror into my soul as I ran, for truly they did be the visible signs of monstrous forces of evil. And did any human have ventured outward beyond the circle, then had that man been destroyed in the spirit, and lost utterly, so that none had dared to come, neither had it been of use if any had made themselves to be a sacrifice to aid me, for, truly, they to have been of no use, when dead, as you shall say. And there came a constant shouting from the 100,000 to me, that I haste, and indeed to haste. And truly I did haste with all my strength. And I looked unto the dear circle of holiness that did be above us twain, and it to go steadfast over us, so that I saw we to be surely saved. And lo! I to be no more than 100 paces now from the glowing of the circle. And behold! Even in that instant, there must come brutal things to destroy us, for there came an herd of squat and brutish men all about me in a moment from the shadows, where they had been hid. And they caught at me, and caught at the maid to tear her from mine arm. And truly, it did be as that they surely to have success, for I could nowise in a moment free myself, and yet to guard the maid and to use the discos. And lo! I kicked with my metal boots, and gave from them, and turned all ways in a moment, and wrenched free, and I leaped back, and the herd of horrid brutes after me. And now I'd have space for the discos, and a grimness in my heart, and I came round very sudden, and ran in among the men, smiting. And I hit very swift both from the right and the left, and to and fro with a constant quick circling. And the discos did spin and roar, and made a strange light upon the faces of the men, and they'd have tusks like to the tusks of pigs. And surely I did rage through them, smiting. And they to strike me 1,000 times with great stones, so that mine armor rang, and was all fresh burst, and I near to sicken under the blows and new wounds, but they not to harm the maid, for I carried her above their squat and brutish reach. And the brute men to seem without end. But I made all way forward unto the glowing of the circle, and the night to be full in that place of the fierce shoutings of the 100,000, and many, as I did learn, to have tried to come unto me, but that their comrades held them from so useless a dying. And, in verity, I to be now scarce 50 paces from the glowing of the circle, and did be nigh to fall, for I did be so utter dazed and wounded with the fight, and ill with a vast weariness and the despairing madness of my journey, and moreover, as you do know, I not to have slept, but to have carried the maid forever through days and nights, and to have fought oft. And lo! The 100,000 stood just within the circle, and they that were to the front did swing each man the discos, and they hurled each the discos in among the herd of the tusked men that did make to slay me. And surely this to save me, for the herd did thin to my front, and I to gather my strength, and to charge with despair, and to smite and never be ceased of smiting, so that there did be dead creatures all about. And behold! I brake through the herd, with mine own, and did be upon the circle. And lo! I stepped over the circle, that did scarce now to give out a resistance, and 1,000 hands did come forward to give me help, yet did none touch me, but gave back from me, for there did be that about me which held them off, as with a little awe, for I to be strange unto them. And I stood there in a great silence, and the discos in my hand ran blood to the haft. And maybe I rocked as I stood, for many again did put out their hands, as to hold me, and again drew back, and were silent. And I looked unto them, and they looked back at me, and I did gasp a while, and was strangely dazed, and did try to tell them that I had need of the doctors for the life of mine own maid, that did be dying in mine arms. And behold, in that moment, there did be a sound of giants running, out in the night. And some then to cry out different matters, to aid me, and to beware of the giants, and to bring the doctors to attend me on the instant. And other voices did call that the holy light was gone from above, and likewise the black mounds from the outer part of the circle. And there did be a monstrous noise of roarings in the land, and all to come bewildered unto my brain, which did surely fail now with the grim and utter stress which had been mine so long. And there to be also a constant noise that came from near and from upward, and truly I to know, as in a dream, that it did be made of the shouting of the great millions, that did make an eternal and vague roaring sound upward in the night, that did come down from the upper heights, no more loud than a strange and continual murmuring out of the lofty miles. And surely, I to find my voice in a little minute, and did ask a near man whether there be any doctors with the men. And in that moment there came forward a master of the discos, which doth be as a commander of this age. And he made the salute of honor with the discos, and would have eased the maid from me, but I to ask again, very slow, whether that there was a doctor near. And he on the instant to give an order, and the great thousands to begin to shape, and did make a mighty lane unto the great gateway of the mighty pyramid. And the master of the discos made a sign to certain that did be near, and they stood about me, as I to know dully, lest I fall, but they not to touch me, for I did be as that I must not be laid hand upon, for I did near to choke with despair lest I to have come home too late, and surely, also, the men to seem as that I did be strange unto them. And there went orders swift and constant this way and that, and lo! In a little while, there came two big men of the upward cities, running, and they had a little man between them upon a sling. And the little man did be a master of the doctors, and he aided me gentle to lay mine own maid upon the earth. And the master of the discos made a sign, and the men that did be near, turned each his back, and the doctor to make examination for the life of mine own. And there to come about that time a seeming of silence in the land. And truly the 100,000 did be utter quiet, and a great quiet in the mighty pyramid, for, in truth, all to know, by this, that there to be a fear that the maid I did bring out of the night, did be slain by the evil forces. And sudden the little man that did be the master doctor, looked up quiet and piteous at me, so that I knew in a moment that mine own maid did be dead. And he to see that I knew, and he covered the face of mine own, and stood up very speedy, and he called softly to the men that did be to my back, and he signed to them that some to support me, and some to lift mine own maid, and bear her unto the great gateway. And he looked keen at me, and I to fight a little that I breathed, and afterward did make with my hands, that the men not to come near me, neither to touch mine own. And the master doctor to understand that I did be truly strong until I die, and did beckon the men from me, and from the maid. And I stooped, in a little, and I lifted mine own maid into mine arms for that last journeying. And I came down the mighty lane of the 100,000, all in their grey armor. And they did make silent salute with the discos reversed, each man as I passed him, and did be utter silent. And I scarce to what of aught, save that all the world did be quiet and emptied, and my task to have failed, and mine own to lie dead in mine arms. Yet, truly, did it to have failed utter? For I had surely saved mine own from the terror of the second nightland, and she not to have come alone and with madness unto her death, but to have died in mine arms, and she surely to have been comforted within her spirit, because that my love did be so utter about her. And I to think vaguely and terribly on 100 sweet love actions that she to have shown unto me, and sudden I did remember with a dreadful pain how that I never to have waked to discover mine own maid kissing me in my sleep, as I to have meant. And a madness of anguish did flash sudden through the numbness upon my brain, so that I did be blinded a little, and surely went crooked in my walk, for I to know, sudden, that the master doctor steadied mine elbow for a moment, but afterward did leave me be, as I to have again control of my spirit. And lo! As I drew nigh unto the great gateway, the lights of the pyramid to begin to glow again more strong, and the machinery of the lifts and the air pumps to work, because that now the earth current did grow once more to natural strength. And they to have power now to open the great gate, which did be done by great machines. And there to come forth to meet me a number of the masters of the mighty pyramid, and the dear master Monstruican did come before them all, so eager as that he did be mine own father. And he to have heard somewhat, vaguely, that there to have been a fear for the life of the maid that I did bring. And surely, he did be told by one near to the gateway, that the maid did be dead in mine arms, for he and all the masters did pause and stand silent for me to go by, and did reverse each his discos, and this to have been an honour shown, than which there did be scarce any greater. And there went a constant murmuring up in the night, which did be the speech of the millions, questioning. And the news that the maid did be dead, went upward through the miles. And my spirit to know, as in a dream, of the spiritual noise which did go outward through all space, and did be the grief of the multitudes, as they did hear this thing. Yet, truly, there did nothing comfort me anywise, neither I proper yet to know the verity of my loss, for I did go stunned. And I came in through the great gateway, and the full watch did stand there silent in their armor, and they made the salute of honor. And I went onward with the dead maid that I did bring out of eternity. And presently, they that were around, did guide me, with the maid in mine arms, unto the great lift. And I took mine own maid into the great lift, and the masters came with me, and did be in their armor, and none did speak to me. And the master monstruican and the master of the doctors stood silent to the side of me. And there did be everywhere great multitudes, that I did see vaguely, but my spirit not to what of them. And lo! I stood very quiet and dumb as we did go upward through the miles, and the millions of the cities stood about the great lift, and there did be a great silence upward and downward through the strange miles, save for the weeping of women in dear sympathy, that did sound far and low and constant. And presently I to know that the master monstruican and the master of the doctors did look one to the other, and I to be aware sudden that I stood in my blood, for I did be wounded in 100 parts, and the blood to go alway from me. Yet did the master doctor be slow to do aught for me, because that he to perceive that I did be slain in the heart, and there to be no pain so dreadful as that he should be like to wake me unto, if that he went hastily. Yet, presently, there did come whirlings into my head, and someone did surely make to ease mine own maid from mine arms. But I held her, dumbly, and the blood to go the more from me, and they not to know what should be done. And I to look at them. And the dear master monstruican did be saying somewhat unto me, that I did have no power to hear, but only to know that his face did be very human. And there went a strange noise all about me, and the master monstruican to seem to hold me up, and to beckon to some that did be to my back. And lo! There came a blackness, and the gentleness of arms about mine armor. And I did come presently to quietness and to half dreams, and did alway to seem that I carried mine own maid in mine arms. But truly there did pass 3 great days, whilst that I did be thus. And I all that while to be laid quiet, and to be tended by the master doctor, and aided by all knowledge that did be known of humans. And on the 3rd day, as it might be called, I to come full unto my senses, and the pain to take me in the breast, and the master of the doctors did be with me, and they that nursed me, and the master doctor watched me very keen and gentle. And I did be in a bed of the health room of mine own city. And I gat from the bed, and the doctor to say naught, but only to watch me. And I walked to and fro a little, and he alway to watch me, and presently he gave me somewhat to drink, and I drank. And I was gone soon from all knowledge. And I to come again unto a knowing that I yet to live, and there went a certain strength in my body. And lo! The first that I did see, was the master of the doctors, and I to perceive in a moment that he had wakened me, and had nursed my strength for that moment, that I lived through the burial. For he to be very wise, and to have known from that first seeing of me, that I not to live after that mine own did die. And there was brought to me a loose garment, but I to refuse the garment, dumbly, and did look about me very troubled and forgetting. And the master doctor looked alway at me, and lo! In a moment he called one, and gave an order. And there was brought in then my broken armor, and a garment to wear below. And I then to know that I did be content in this matter, and the doctor alway to watch me. And they dressed me in my broken armor. And surely, as they dressed me, my spirit to hear the sorrow and sympathy of the multitudes, and did know that they went downward by millions, unto the country of silence. And lo! In that moment when I near to be in mine armor, I to mind sudden again that I never to have waked to discover mine own maid kissing me in my sleep. And the pain gat me in the breast, so that I had surely ended then, but that the master doctor set somewhat to my breath, that eased me, and gave something of dullness unto my senses for a while. And I did be carried then in a sling unto the great lift, and there did be a bed in the lift, and the doctor to have me to lie upon the bed, and I to know that he also to know that I never to need a bed any more, neither should I ever to come upward again in the lift. And truly the mighty pyramid did be in emptiness, for there did seem to be left only the stress masters that did arrange the moving of the millions. And the stress masters did stand about the lift, as we dropped downward through the great miles unto the underground fields. And we came downward in the last unto the country of silence, which did lie 100 miles deep in the world, and did be 100 miles every way of silence unto the dead. And they that were with me, gat me from the lift, and did mean to carry me in the sling unto the last road. But I stood upon my feet, and made that I should walk, and I held out my hand for the discos, which one did carry. And the master doctor signed that they should obey me, as my spirit to know. And I walked very steadfast down the way that did lead unto the last road, and the master doctor walked behind me, a little space off. And surely, there did be all the peoples of the world in that great country, and the peoples did be spread out forever, so far as my seeing did go, and they'd out of sight of me, and all the ether did be stirred with the humanness of their sorrow and their kind sympathy. And there grew a murmur, which did be like to a low rolling thunder, and did be the voices of the peoples. And the rolling of that great hushed sound went to and fro across that mighty country of quiet, and there to be afterward an utter silence. And I saw below me the place of the last rest, where did be the beginning of the last road, and there did lie there a little figure, covered with a white robe, that did glimmer with the beauteous work of women that had stitched love and honor into that last garment. And surely, I to rock upon my feet, and to steady myself with the discos, and the master doctor to be unto my side in a moment, and gave me again something that I breathe in. But, indeed, I to refuse, after that I had taken one breath of the drug, for I to be able to bear my pain the little time that I now to have to live, and I to mean that I have no dimness of my senses for those short minutes that I should have yet near unto mine own. And truly the master doctor did not press me anywise, but had a perfect understanding, and went quiet again to the rearward. And I came soon to that place where mine own dead one did lie, and the Master Monstruican stood to her feet, and did be clothed in grey armor, and had the discos reversed, and this to be for an honor unto my dead maid. And there kneeled two maids in white, one to the right and one to the left of mine own, and they to be for faithfulness, and did be maids, because that they watched by a maid, and had likewise been matrons, if that the dead had been wife unto any. And the place at the head of the last rest did be empty, and did be for me, and he that stood to the head did be for love, for it did be the chief, and did hold dominion over and did make to live both faithfulness and honor. And this to be the way of the burial alway. And lo! I took my courage into my heart, and I stood to the head of mine own maid, and I looked down upon the wondrous white glory of the garment, which did be white because that mine own did be a maid, yet did be worked with yellow flowers of weeping, as we did call them, because that she had died in love. And I to know that no hand had touched that wonderful garment, save the hands of maidens. And behold! As I stood there, from far away over the land, there did come a far and faint sound, and the sound did come more nigh, so that I knew that afar off, beyond the hills of the babes, the millions did begin to sing the calling song, where million did call hushed unto million, and the sound did come onward toward where we did be, and did go over us, and pass onward in a hushed and wondrous breathing of sound, as that all the love that did be ever in this world, did call in a low anguish unto a lost beloved. And the sound to pass away and away over that mighty country and the deep earth, and did hush and hush unto a great and utter silence, save for a faint murmur of countless women weeping, that did be in the air of that land of quiet. And there to be a space of silence, and again the silence to be broken by a far sound, and there to come again from beyond the far hills of the babes a strange and low sound, and did be as of a wind wandering through damp forests. And the sound grew, and came across the hills of the babes, and did be breathed forth by million after million, so that in a little I to hear the song of weeping sung very low and sorrowful by the multitudes. And the song came onward over all that great country, and passed over us, and went onward into the far land beyond the dome, and did be caught by the voices of millions that did be hid in great distances, and so to go onward forever, and to die at last unto a mighty silence. And the master Monstruican looked at me from the feet of mine own maid, and I to know that the moment did become when I depart from the maid Nani forever and forever, even though I to live in some strange future, and to find her soul in some other sweet child. And I stooped and laid the discos beside mine own maid there upon the last rest, and the two maids drew back the light wonder of the garment, and showed me the face of mine own, and she to sleep there forever so sweet and hushed as a child, and as oft I to have seen her to sleep. And I looked a little while, and the pain of my heart did be sufficient, so that I knew I died as I looked. And once more I looked, and I set my soul about mine own. And I fought with myself, and stood upward, and the maids did cover the face of mine own maid. And the master monstruocan commended Nani unto eternity. And he raised the discos reversed, and lo! The road did begin to move upward unto the dome, and mine own maid did be upon the road, and I to fight that I keep breathing, so that I not to die before she be lost utter to my sight. And there did rise now a sound from all that country that had no order in it, and did be like to a low moaning that did fill all the air of the land, and there to be also a constant sound, as of a little whistling dree wind that did be in all that country of quiet, and truly this to be more than any singing, for it to be the true weeping of multitudes, that did sorrow from the heart, with the grief of this thing that did be. And I stood utter still, and did draw my breath very even, and looked unto that small form that did be now afar off where it did lie upon the moving roadway. And I gazed, as that my soul and all my being did have no power else, even as a man that dies, doth set all his strength to a last movement. And I not to what that the master monstruocan and the two maids did hold me up, because they to perceive that I did be dying, for I only to see mine own little one lying afar off upon the moving of the last road. And the maid in that moment to come to the place where the road did pass into the strange and luminous vapor of the earth current, which did lie all about the base of the dome, and the vapor to be only as a faint shining smoke, scarce seen, yet to be enough to give something of uncertainty to the dead, when that they did have passed inward of it. And I stared, with all that did be left of my strength, for mine own to be gone utter and forever in but a little minute. And the uncertainty of the luminous vapor did cling about her, and to make her to seem unreal to my gaze, for the vapor did be in constant movement, and to give a seeming of shifting to and fro of all that did be in it. And behold! As I did stare, with my dreadful pain, there did be sudden a strange hoarse noise from the nearer millions. And lo! In an instant there came a mighty shout out of all that country, and the shout did be made again, and did grow into a mighty hoarse roaring from the millions, so that all that great country did be filled with the monstrous sound. And, in verity, I to have seen the thing, likewise, but to have set it to the madness of longing of my heart and to that desperate and dreadful pain which did make me to be crazed and lost from all sane thinking. And the thing that I did see, had been that the maid did seem to move, there upon the last road, where she did lie, but indeed, this to have appeared only to be the stirring of the luminous vapor of the earth current, which did seem to make things shift, as I have told. And lo! I now to see truly that the maid did move where she was laid afar off upon the road, and I now to know, and to believe that she did indeed live. And my life came into me with a bounding, yet did my heart seem to be a moment stilled in my breast. And the master monstruocan to have signed already that the roadway be stopped, and brought backward, but I to be now upon the last road, and did run as a madman, shouting vainly upon the name of mine own. And I to learn afterward that there to have been a dreadful peril that all the near millions to rush toward the last road, and so, mayhap, to have caused the death of many, and to have been like to have crushed mine own. But this danger to have been eased, because that the watchmaster did act very prompt, and set the great regiments of his men to keep back the millions, and did send a signal abroad over all the country, that there to be calmness, for that the maid should be succored. And alway, whilst this to be, I did run staggering most strangely upward of the last road, and surely that great roof did ring and boom with the constant and mighty shoutings of the millions. And there did run others also along the road, to my back, but I to have been the first, and to make a good speed, though I did stagger and rock so strange upon my feet, and the road alway to be moving backward under me, and so I to become wonderful soon unto where the maid did be. And she to be upon her back, and to have pushed the garment from her face, and did be lying with her eyes open, and a look of gentle wonderment upon her dear face. And she then to see me, and her eyes did smile at me, very glad and quiet, for there to be yet an utter weakness upon her. And lo! I came with a falling beside her, and I gat upon my knees and upon my hands, and my heart did shake my lips to dry whisperings. And she to look weak and steadfast unto me, and I to look forever at her, and I did alway try to say things unto her, but my mouth to refuse me. And understanding did come into her, as a light, and she to know in that instant that she to be truly come into the mighty pyramid, and I to have gat her there somewise, and she to wake sudden in her body, and set her hands forth all a trembling from the garment, and in dreadful trouble. And I to see then that the blood did go from me, constant, and the maid to have perceived this thing, so that she was waked the more proper in a moment from her death swoon. And surely, I did bleed very dreadful, for all my wounds did be open with my running. And I to have sudden power with my lips, and did say unto her, very simple, that I loved her. And she to be all in an haze from me, and I to know that she to have come likewise unto her knees, and did have my head upon her breast, and there to be an utter shaking of the air with some great sound, and a mighty spiritual stirring of the ether of the world. And there to be then the voice of the master monstruican very dull in mine ears, and the low voice of the master doctor, but I never to hear what they did be saying, and did know only that mine own maid did live, and I not to mean to die, but to fight unto living. And even whilst that I made this resolving, I was gone into an utter blackness.